Good afternoon, everyone. You are in the spotlight with Brian Gardner for this Wednesday, December the 21st, 2016. Good to have you all here for our second of two shows this week, our final show before Christmas and this week's holiday events. So, hope your week is treating you well. Obviously, we had our Tuesday night primetime show last night, our only primetime show of this week. Then today, here with the Football Blitz. Um, as always, before we get going here at the top of the show, I want to remind you all the ways which you can interact and contribute to our show. Have your voice heard by emailing us at itspotlight411 at gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. Please remember to use the hashtags, hashtag itspotlight411, or you can, again, for the Football Blitz show, as always, use hashtag ITS411 Football Blitz. And you can also find us on Facebook. Just search for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook, and then once you find our fan page, make sure that you like it upon finding it. All right, so here we are on this Wednesday. Very rare for a Football Blitz show. Although we did that, I think, Thanksgiving one time. We did a Wednesday show. We don't, it's not often, but we do it from time to time, these shows. And, again, we did the schedule the way we did this week. That would be the best thing for the holidays. Obviously, even though Christmas Eve is not till Saturday, I know a lot of people might be traveling on Friday, and so I thought this was a better move to make. And that's why we did it the way we did here today. So, to those that are joining us live, thank you to you. And to those that will be listening or watching this later in archive, thank you all as well. Here's the thing about now. Well, real quick, here's the thing. Obviously, I know there was quite a few people last week on last Friday's Football Blitz show that obviously there was a lot that went wrong. I had an emergency in the middle of the show. There was technical problems. We had to do a makeup show on Saturday. I know there was a lot of people that maybe did not watch or listen to last week's Football Blitz because it was on Saturday. So to those that have not yet, if you wanted to and you're still interested, feel free to go check that out. It would be dated December 17th. That show was recorded live on Saturday, December the 17th. So if you're interested in that show, you can go look it up. It's on Google+, YouTube, obviously Podbean, iTunes, all of our usual shows. We can find an archive where you can stream it anytime or listen to it anytime. So if you're interested in that, feel free to go check it out. Because, again, that was obviously it was a mess on Friday. It was a mess. There was an emergency I had to deal with, and technical problems. So to all of our Football Blitz, I know some people just check out the Football Blitz and don't listen to our primetime shows or watch them. So to all our Football Blitz fans that got kind of hosed on Friday, I apologize. Again, it was out of my hands. Some things happened. I can't help it. But thank you for your patience and understanding. To those that did check out the show on Saturday, whether it was live or an archive, thank you to you. And again, that show was dated December 17th. So if you're interested in that show, you can check it out. All right. So as I said, this is our last show before Christmas. After today, we will not have another show until next week. Next Thursday, to be exact, will be our next show. It'll be our usual Thursday night primetime show. We'll cover everything in sports outside of football, entertainment, box office beat, entertainment news, wrestling, all that on Thursday. That's Thursday, December the 29th. That'll be our next primetime show. And then our next Football Blitz show after today will be next Friday, December the 30th. And that'll be our last show of 2016. Hard to believe. So that's our schedule for next week. Just to give you all a little heads up on that in case you might have forgotten or didn't know. So that's the schedule for next week. So the drill for today. As always, we'll start off with the NFL. We'll look back at last week, look ahead to this coming week, which is a different week because you got the usual Thursday night football game, but this week you got your NFL games are on Saturday because with Christmas being on Sunday, the NBA has the rights to Christmas Day. They will have the day, so they will have games on Christmas Day, and you have the Sunday night football game. That's all you got, and you got Monday night football. So it's a little bit of a different schedule this week, but still, it is what it is. Doesn't really, it's for most people. They'll probably be happier doing it on Saturday, having the games on Saturday. And then next week you go back to a little bit next week it's the same kind of schedule as well because New Year's Day belongs more to college football. So you'll have the same kind of setup next week as well. So that's your schedule for that's your NFL schedule for this week. So we'll talk about the NFL, look at last week, look ahead to this week. We'll do all that. college football, we'll preview. We'll discuss the bowl games that have already taken place. We'll preview the bowl games that will be taking place between today and next Friday, all the games that will be taking place while we're off the air for football, for our football blitz. And we'll do all that, make those picks today here as well. So that's the deal for today. Should be a pretty full show. Might be one of our longer shows that we've done in a few weeks if we've been kind of pressed for time, but we'll get it all in, no doubt. So that is our schedule. That's our schedule for today, our schedule for next week. So all the information you need, I just gave to you. So hopefully that helps you all note that with the holidays, it's going to be kind of confusing to kind of remember things like whether your favorite podcast, which I hope I'm one of your favorite podcasts. Could be kind of hard to remember whether your favorite podcast is scheduled to have a show or not. So I hope you all know what I just said and don't forget, and hope it doesn't cause you too much confusion. So, all right, so here we go. We're ready to go here. And as I pull up my notes here, we're ready to get going in earnest here. All right, so we'll start again, as we always do, by looking back at the NFL. It was, well, you get late in the season. Obviously, we're going into the final 2 weeks here. This past weekend, it was the beginning of the final 3 weeks. You get to this point in the season. Look, you weeded a lot of teams out. You have some teams barely hanging on. We've talked about it, positioning and all this other stuff. That's the highlight. You get to week 15, which is what we just went through, and this is usually when you pretty much lose you cut off a lot of these teams that are just barely hanging on. You're left with like 2 or 3 or 4 teams that are legitimately either right on that borderline of making it and not making it. And you get left with your final group, essentially. You get left with your final group, and you have an idea now, like who's obviously the pretenders are all gone. It's really just left up to the teams that legitimately have a chance at making this thing. It's been a very interesting playoff race this year. At one point, I think all but 3 teams in the NFL were legitimately still alive. I think this was as late as like 3 weeks ago. And that made it interesting. And then, you've lost some teams across the way here. So, it's been interesting. It's been very interesting to see this unfold. It's been one of the more interesting playoff races because it hasn't followed normal formula. And usually you have more teams drop out of it early. You did not have that. So I guess that's good for the NFL. It's good for the league that more teams stayed in it longer this year. It really was until this week that a lot of these teams really kind of, in a lot of ways, officially got knocked out. There's some teams that you're going to look at this week that are mathematically still alive, but we know they don't have a chance, so you can write them off. But, it's made things interesting. It really has. So as you look back at last week, we talked about last week, the Seahawks dominated Thursday Night Football, got a win that cinched their, division up and pretty much put away the Rams. We already talked about the Jeff Fisher situation and everything like that last week. Last Saturday, you also had the Dolphins-Jet game where the Dolphins dominated the Jets 34-13, took care of their business. And we talk about this all the time. You got to beat the teams that theoretically you should beat, and they did. And Matt Moore looked great, which is a good sign for Miami. If Matt Moore is going to play like he did against – and here's the thing. I know the Jets are bad this year, but the Jets are still a very good defensive team. If a quarterback puts up 4 TDs on somebody, that means you've had a good performance. Matt Moore had a great performance off the Dolphins. Off the Jets. A great performance. That has to give Miami a lot of hope here of closing the deal here. Miami right now is in good shape. They're 9-5. Realistically, they win. If they win 2 games, they're going to go. If they win 2 games, they're going to go. If they win 1, then it's iffy because you have because of the way some of the other teams are developing. So we'll have to see. But it was a big win for Miami here in a game that they needed to win and should win. Now, as I said, this time of year, it's about winning the games that you need to win. If you're playing a team that's bad, you need to win that game. You can't lose that game because that can keep you out of the playoffs. Some teams had a very, very hard time doing that. The Packers were one of them. The Packers have played their way back in. They said a couple weeks ago they could run the table. They've been doing that. They go into Chicago. I know it's December. I know it's Soldier Field. but you have got to play. And the Packers have been playing really good football. I mean, they've been playing really good football on both sides of the ball. Their running game has finally gotten good with Ty Montgomery. Things have finally come into their own for them. And then they go to Chicago and they nearly blow it and they have to come back and win it. Now, look, wins are wins at this point. You get the win, that's all that matters. And they did 30-27. And it's a good effort by the Bears. But at the same time, it kind of worries you here because you almost get the sense that the Packers like, okay, we played our way back into it. We can kind of ease off the gas pedal. Don't ease off the gas pedal. Just like you don't want to ease off the gas pedal within a game. Don't ease off the gas pedal in terms of game to game. You want to keep up the intensity, keep it up. And thankfully, it looks like they got some of that back. Maybe this was a little bit of a wake-up call, keep them focused here as they go along. But still, the Packers got the win. They moved to 8-6. And boy, is the NFC North getting interesting. Who would have thought that 2 weeks ago? We'll talk more about that in just a moment. So Packers with the big win. The Texans, like the Packers, had a hard time. Now, look, Jacksonville is a team that early in the year nearly knocked off the Packers, was really giving some teams some pause here. We all thought they might have a better season than they ended up having. Then they didn't. And now they fired their coach, which I think was probably the right move. I hate to say it because that team should have been better than they were this year. The way they played early on was they played really well, and then the wheels just kind of spun off. Jacksonville's going to give you a tough game. We know defensively they can get the job done. Offensively, if they can get a good game out of their playmakers, particularly their quarterback Blake Bortles, if they can get something out of the quarterback, if they can get something out of their running game, then they can be in games. They can even win some games. And they almost beat the Texans here. They almost did. They had the Texans down here, and then the unthinkable happens. Brock Osweiler, who the Houston Texans gave a ridiculous contract to based off of a half a season of looking good for the Denver Broncos, okay? Houston benches Brock Osweiler, their big contract guy, their franchise guy. And they put in Tom Savage, who performed very well, 23 for 36, 260 yards, got the job done, led the Texans back, and they get a win that might have saved their season, 21-20. Because here's the thing. So interesting on Sunday because you had the Texans losing, you had the Titans losing, and you had the Colts dominant. And we'll talk more about that later. That was one of the biggest shocks of Sunday was that game. All of a sudden, you're thinking we're headed for a three-way tie again, and all of a sudden, Titans come back, Texans come back, and we're right back to square one again. So it was a huge shift in the AFC South. And in terms of how it all developed on Sunday, but still, Texans did what they need to do. And I admire. I like when coaches do what happened here. I don't care how much money a guy makes. Brock Osweiler has every opportunity to be the starting quarterback of this team. He has not played very well this year. I like Brock Osweiler. He did very well for Denver last year, but you can't compare Denver to Houston. He doesn't have as many playmakers in Houston like he did in Denver. He doesn't have the kind of offensive line that Denver has. All right? So things are different here. He has to work a little harder here. It just isn't working for Osweiler this year. It wasn't working. And for Houston, you need to win football games. You need to do what you need to do to win. They did what they needed to do to win. It was the right move. It saved the game. It might have saved their season. Osweiler handled it unbelievably well. He handled it with class, with respect. He understood. I admire him for that. I give the Texans credit for having the guts to do this, because they needed to do something to shake it up, and they did, and they come away with a win. Now, we'll see what happens. You bring a quarterback in off the bench, nobody's prepared for that. The other team's defense isn't prepared for that. This week, they've already announced Tom Savage is going to be the starter. So he is going to be in the scouting report. People are going to be prepared for Tom Savage. This is not going to be as easy for Tom Savage as it was this past week. But we'll talk more about that later. But a big win for the Texans in a game they needed to have. Bills took care of business against the Browns. At this point, again, with so many teams at the top here and ahead of them, with 2 weeks left, it's just not possible, I don't think. Mathematically, they're still alive. But realistically, let's be honest here. There's at 7-7 with 2 weeks to go. It's not going to happen. And there's already talk about Rex Ryan being fired, which I can understand. You look at this team and where they've been and how they played. Last year, they got off to the hot start, and then they went to a middle part of the year, which kind of knocked them back down. And then they kind of tried to get back in it late. Just wasn't enough. And it's the same kind of thing that happened this year. They started out okay, fell apart mid-season, try to get back in it late here, and it's just too late. They're basically no better than they were when before Rex got there. It's just, what are you going to do? But the Bills get a win to keep themselves alive, even though, again, they're like a very, very big long shot. Ravens being an Eagles team that they needed to beat 27-26 in a very good back and forth game. Again, Eagles, you can't take them lightly. They were very good teams, had a lot of tough luck. Ravens did not take them lightly. They took a very big, the Eagles kept punching back at the Ravens. Played a very good game. If I'm Philadelphia, I'm very encouraged for next year the way they played this year and the way they played against some of these good teams down the stretch here. Ravens got the job done. They knew they needed to keep pace with the Steelers and keep pace in the playoff hunt. They got the job done. Their defense came up big late, and they got the job done, 27-26. So the Ravens at 8-6. I mentioned the Titans. The Titans were down against the Kansas City Chiefs, and this game this was a huge game. Not only for the AFC South, which we talked about how the Texans were down while the Colts were winning, but also for the whole AFC, because the Chiefs had been dominating. The Chiefs had been on a heck of a streak. They had taken the 2 seed away from Oakland. Despite the fact their defense had been injury depleted, they were finding ways to get the job done. And you're in Kansas City, which is one of the toughest places to play in the NFL. And we talked a lot about Tennessee in recent weeks and how they've surprised us. They went from a grinded out kind of team that offensively was a mess to a team that somehow found a way found an offense and has been finding ways to get the job done. And they do that here. They were down early, 17-7. And they come back 12 points in the fourth quarter to keep Kansas City off the board the entire second half with their great defense. And Tennessee wins this game in Kansas City, 19-17. And look, honestly, right now, Tennessee to me looks like the best team in the AFC South. That's not saying much, but they do. Mariota played okay. It wasn't great, but it did a good enough. Murray was good. Tennessee right now, they're getting the job done. They're beating good teams, and they're getting the job done against teams they should beat. They beat Denver. They beat Kansas City. Look what they're doing. We thought they'd lose the next couple of weeks. They didn't. They're sitting here at 8-6. It's crazy. It really is. It's really crazy to see what's happened with them. And for Kansas City, this was a horrible loss. First of all, their defense did everything they could do. You don't blame the defense here. You blame the offense. The offenses could not get the job done on Tennessee, and they lose a game that knocks them right back down to where they were prior to knocking off Oakland. So it was a gift to Oakland. So a huge game here, a huge development here in this particular game. I mentioned the Colts, who last week were very much maligned with the media, with the owner. There was so much talk of firing Pagano, firing the GM, and the players were all blaming each other. It was a mess. Well, I'll give the Colts credit. They pulled it together this week. We'll see if it was just a 1 week thing, but this was their best performance. I thought 2 weeks ago was their best performance. This was their best performance of the last 2 years. A dominant 34-6 win over the Vikings at home with Adrian Peterson returning, who didn't factor much into it, but still, they get this job done, which probably eliminated the Vikings. Who would have thought Vikings went from unbeaten to, after that bye, they just never looked the same. Bradford came back down to earth. Pretty much the whole team did. But for the Colts, offensively and even defensively, they stopped the run. Defensively, I haven't seen the Colts look this good defensively in years. Great defense, great offense, got the job done, and now we'll see what they do. They got to keep the pressure on. All they can do is win the games in front of them. If they win out, they have to hope somebody stumbles. And if you're the Colts, you hope. You need Tennessee to lose at least one. That's who you hope. You need the Texans to lose 2, which again is I don't know. And you need Tennessee to lose at least 1. Because Tennessee, if they tie them, they get the tiebreaker. But we'll see. I mean, hey, all you can do is win the games. It was a performance they needed, and it was a performance they got. Frank Gore finally ran the ball, got opportunities. Great win for the Colts. So interesting developments in the AFC South. Um, I mentioned the shift in the AFC West with the Chiefs losing, and in terms of the AFC in general. The Broncos also lost to the New England Patriots 16-3. It was not a good game for Denver. Once again, we talked about Denver's problem. Defensively is not the issue. You held the Patriots to 16 points. You did your job defensively. Only scored one touchdown. Offensively, only a field goal. Trevor Siemian, 40 pass attempts, completed 25 passes, 282 yards, one interception. Again, Simeon's not the issue. They can't run the football. Simeon's throwing the ball okay. I mean, not great, but okay. You could win games the way Simeon's throwing the ball. They're not running the football. If you're not going to run the football, you're not going to get as many open passes downfield. You're not going to get the job done. They are not scoring. They are not getting the ball in the end zone. This is why Denver is in the position they're in, and that's why they're probably not going to make the playoffs when they look like a certainty about a month ago. They just cannot put the ball in the end zone, and part of it was New England, yes, but a lot of it was Denver's inefficiency too. And Denver loses this game, and now Denver, I mean, again, they're right down there with the Ravens. The Dolphins have jumped ahead of them. I mean, I don't know. I don't see it. I just don't see it. I just don't see it. And for New England, they got to win, keep themselves in front of the pack here as far as the number one seed goes. They've clinched the AFC East. They have clinched the first round bye, so they will at least be the 2 seed in the AFC. If you're an AFC team, obviously look, the goal is you don't want to play that game in Foxborough. However, I will say this much, okay? I mean, the Patriots are unbeaten on the road. They've lost 2 games at home this year. New England does not look good this right now. They do not look good right now. They are very banged up. Brady is not playing particularly well. They had that hot start when he first came back, first 5 or 6 games. They have not looked good. They are winning games, yes, but they are very vulnerable. To me, I mean, it might not be as much of a slam dunk playing. I mean, a slam dunk for New England playing at home this year as it's been in years past because they're not playing very well. They got injuries. They're not playing very well. So, are they winning? Yeah, but they're not looking good in the process of doing it. So we'll have to see. But they got the job done, and Denver right now is in very, very dire straits. The Raiders are not. The Raiders saw the Broncos lose. They saw the Chiefs lose, and they were able to win their game 19-16 over the Chargers, who did what they needed to do. They made it a grinded-out kind of game. Defensively, I thought they did a good job. Just couldn't score enough. Oakland's defense was good. Chargers had a few opportunities, didn't make the most of them. And a field goal late breaks the tie and gets the job done. And the Raiders right now win a game with 2 weeks left. If they win, with a win, I think the Raiders will. I think they will clinch at least a share of the AFC West. But right now, the Raiders are sitting pretty for that number for a top seed here in the AFC. That's how big of a loss that Chiefs loss was. So Raiders looking pretty good right now and get the job done against a team that they really should beat. That really, even though the Chargers were already out of it, that finishes off the Chargers. So the AFC story got interesting in a lot of regards, particularly involving the AFC West and the AFC South. And the NFC, as I mentioned, the NFC North getting very interesting. The Vikings are now out of it. You don't even look at them anymore. The North has gotten interesting because of the Packers' late surge and the Lions falling on their face against the Giants 17-6. 2 weeks in a row, the Giants have proven to the world that they can beat good teams. Detroit has become a good team. They've improved very well on defense. Offensively, they've been doing very, very well, moving the ball. Stafford's been great. He's an MVP candidate. Dolphins have been surging, and the Giants finally – and I said last week I thought the Lions were due for a loss. I thought they were – they even though they're much improved the last couple of weeks, they've gotten away with some things. So if the Giants put up a defensive effort that even rivaled what they did against the Cowboys, they'd win, and they did. They're winning with their defense right now. Offensively, they're just doing just enough. It hasn't been pretty. Odell Beckham Jr. is doing just enough with Eli Manning. Eli Manning still not really spreading the ball out a lot to my liking, but offensively they're struggling, the Giants, but they haven't needed it. They focus more on their defense now, and it's working. It's helped them. It's served them well the last 2 weeks, and they've proven to the world they can beat teams doing it this way. And that's, hey, it is what it is. This win, I mean, Giants are pretty much one win away from locking it up, but I mean, at this point, it's a formality. The Giants are going to be in the playoffs. It was a great win for the Giants at home. For the Lions, it was devastating because now you're only finding yourself up one game on the Packers, and the Lions have a really tough game against the Cowboys this week. And I mean, this is huge. It's a huge game for the Lions because they lose this game and the Packers win. That game, their final game, will be against the Packers, and that will be for the division, and it will probably be for a playoff spot. So, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. That game was a huge development in terms of the NFC. Solidifies the Giants even more and sends the Lions into kind of like a panic here as they see the Packers nipping at their heels now. They might have gotten the Vikings off their back, but the Packers are right there. And who would have thought? Who would have thought? Aaron Rodgers said it, and it's happened. So, another big story in the NFC. The Cardinals losing to the Saints 48-41 in an offensive light show. The defense was not in play there. That really officially eliminates the Cardinals. The Saints are still alive, but we know it's a long shot at this point. So for the Saints' pride, I guess it was a big win. For the Cardinals, a devastating loss. It was a devastating season for them. It just never came together. What are you going to do? Sometimes this happens. Sometimes you just have a bad year. Same thing happened to the Panthers, and they've recently seemed to stabilize as they've gotten a little healthier. So if things look good for them next year, you'd like to think things look good for Arizona next year as they played a little bit better over these last couple weeks going into this game, particularly offensively. So Falcons got the job done against the 49ers, 41-13. Beat a team that they should beat. They're right there at 9-5. They have to keep winning games because the Buccaneers are right there. Although they did suffer a setback to the Cowboys, 26-20. Dallas wins on Sunday Night Football. I think if you're a Tampa fan, you're very encouraged. I know you lost. I know you ended your streak, but here's the thing. You stayed in the game against the Dallas Cowboys. You played really good defense. Offensively, you were right there. You stayed with them. At one point, you even had the lead. And this was in Dallas. I think if you're Tampa, you're very happy at least with the performance. You don't look down on it. But now you have to win 2 games. You have to win 2 games, and you needed some help from the Falcons. Now you do still have potential you do still have the potential to steal a wild card spot. But I think if you're Tampa, you make your goal of the division, and then you fall back. I mean, that should always be your goal as a division. You don't want to just get it as a wild card. So, a good effort by Tampa. Dallas finishes things off. They're now 12-2. Win next week against Detroit will finish off anything they have to finish off, and away they go. What else can you say about Dallas? I think I covered all the games. I covered the big developments in the NFC. I covered all the big developments in the AFC. Oh, one more AFC development. Steelers take care of the Bengals 24-20. Again, not that the Bengals were still alive, but that really does officially get them out of there, out of the group here of playoff contenders, if you will. Again, they haven't been a contender for weeks, but, not a dominant win, but a good enough one. Bell was great. Roethlisberger was great. And the Steelers now move up to 9-5. They're a game ahead of the Ravens. They beat the Ravens this weekend. It's over. That game will decide it. If they don't, then we have a tie going into the final week of the season. So we'll see how it goes. It should be interesting to see how that all pans out. So, and then Monday Night Football, the Panthers, who I said have played better recently as they've gotten healthier, knock off the Redskins 26-15. And one of the worst performances. Now, we all know the Redskins' history on Monday Night Football is not good. But this was a deplorable performance. This was a deplorable for a team that's at that point was, in the 6th spot in the playoffs, to lay that much of an egg. I don't know what to tell you. They just did not look good. Nobody looked good. You're going to look at Cousins' numbers, go 32 for 47, 315 yards. That's not too bad. It never looked that good, folks. It was a terrible, terrible, terrible performance by the Washington Redskins. Terrible performance. Panthers had a lot of reason to hope for next year. For the Redskins, devastating. That might be their season because they have that tie there, too. You can't forget that. So, Devastating loss for the Redskins. Are they officially eliminated? No. But with 2 weeks to go, they got their work cut out for them. So a devastating loss. So that covers all the games. So a lot of big developments, big shifts on both sides of the coin, AFC and NFC, in Week 15. And that sets the stage for Week 16, which will get underway tomorrow night. With a game that could clinch the Giants a playoff spot between the Giants, the 10-4 Giants, who are 3-3 on the road, and the 5-9 Eagles, who are 4-2 at home. 8:25 p.m. Eastern on NBC, Thursday night football game. Eagles, again, you cannot take them lightly. They will play you tough. We saw them do that to the Ravens last week. They will play you tough. Giants have been playing really well. I'm going to say, for me, this comes down to this. If the Giants play as good of a defensive game as they played the last 2 weeks, they will win this football game. It won't even matter what they do offensively. And offensively, they're going to do it just enough. Look, if their defense plays the way it's done the last 2 weeks, even just scoring 15, 16 points might be enough. So, but really, to me, it comes down to this. If their defense does what it's done the last 2 weeks, they will win this football game, and they will clinch their playoff spot. That's what it comes down to for me, and I think they will play. I think they will do that because they see that this is their chance to put this away. So I like the Giants here, and what will probably be a close, competitive game over the Eagles. Saturday night football. Saturday football. That's basically your Sunday this week because of the way that everything's scheduled. As I mentioned earlier, we start Saturday off of a 1:00 p.m. Eastern game on CBS. From New Era Field in Buffalo, New York, you have the 9-5 Dolphins, 3-4 on the road. The 7-7 Bills, 4-3 at home. Bills just trying to win to mathematically stay alive. Dolphins, I know the Bills are still a good team, okay team. Okay, they're going to give you a good effort, particularly defensively. They're not a cakewalk. But if you're the Dolphins, you have to view this as a game that you should have. You look at, if you want to make the playoffs, this is the game that you should have. And I think they're going to get it. I think the Bills are the Bills are, especially in light of the way Matt Moore plays. If he plays like that this week, I think they'll win this game pretty solidly. Defensively, we know the Bills will play tough. Offensively is always an issue. It kind of goes in spurts with them. Dolphins look very good offensively last week with Moore. If they put that up this week, we know that the Dolphins defense will do the job done. If the Dolphins put up offense like they did last week with Moore, they'll win this game, and I think they will. So Dolphins for me. Over the Bills on Saturday. Sorry. 1:00 Houston game on CBS from Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, Massachusetts. You have the 4-10 Jets, 3-4 on the road, 12-2 Patriots, 5-2 at home. The Jets will play them tough. They played them tough early on in the season. The difference is this. We're in New England now, so I don't think it will be as close of a game as it was in New York, but New England's winning this game, so even in their weakened state, they're going to win this game. So it's not really worth talking much about here. 1:00 Houston game on CBS from Everbank Field in Jacksonville, Florida. The 8-6 Titans, 4-3 on the road. The 2-12 Jaguars, 1-6 at home. Got to be careful with Jacksonville. We saw last week how they almost upended the Texans. They will play a good game. Defensively, they will be tough. You have got to be ready for them. I expect this to be a close game. It'll probably be an ugly game. Titans have to win it. I think they will win it, but it'll be close. And both these teams defensively will go after it. It's just a matter of who can manage to find the offense find the offensive opportunities and cash in on them. I think Tennessee with Mariota and Murray has a better chance at doing that. So I'll go with Tennessee here. 1:00 Eastern game on Fox from Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin. 7-7 Vikings, 3-4 on the road. 8-6 Packers, 5-2 at home. Vikings pretty much are out of it at this point. Packers have to look at this game as a game that they should win. I think they will win it. Certainly you don't want to lose this game and not make that last game matter against the Lions. So, the way Green Bay's playing, now they have a running game to match up with their passing game. Their defense has been playing great. I like Green Bay here, all the momentum. I think they had their scare last week here. That's kind of what's going to wake them up here. I like Green Bay here. They're the better team. The Vikings have just not been able to put up points. Even with Peterson back last week, they struggled. I like Packers here. I'm going to go quickly through this game, these next two games, because they just don't really matter much. 1:00 Houston game on CBS from First Energy Stadium, Cleveland, Ohio. 5-9 Chargers, 2-5 on the road, 0-14 Browns, 0-7 at home. Game doesn't matter. San Diego will win it because Browns are terrible. Simple as that. 1:00 Houston game on Fox from Soldier Field in Chicago, Illinois. 7-6-1 Redskins, 3-3-1 on the road at the 3-11 Bears, 3-4 home with the Redskins. Want to keep their very, very, very faint hopes for a playoff berth alive. They have to win this game. I think they will win this game. Although, be careful. The Bears almost upended the Packers last week at home. You have to be ready. Defensively, they'll play well. Offensively, they'll figure out ways to try to get it done. They almost did last week. So you got to be careful as your Redskins. You got to play tough here. But the Redskins were embarrassed on Monday night, and it's, even though it's a short week, I think they'll come in with a little bit of a renewed urgency and purpose. So I like the Redskins here, and what should be a close one. They usually are close in Soldier Field in December, so I think this will be a close game. I like the Redskins. 1 o'clock Eastern game on Fox with Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, North Carolina. The 9-5 Falcons, 5-2 on the road. The 6-8 Panthers, 4-3 at home. Gotta be careful because spoilers. You gotta always worry about spoilers late. You always do. Some teams relish it, and the Panthers are going to relish it this year because they've had that kind of season where they've had a lot of tough luck and they're frustrated. We saw what they did to the Redskins on Monday night. They're going to try to do the same thing to the Falcons. And am I hopeful? Do I think they'll do it? No, I don't. I think this will be a close game, but I think the Falcons will find a way to get it done. Offensively, they've been a juggernaut all year. Even if you contain them, they'll probably still do enough to kind of get up in front here. The game should be a competitive contest, but I like the Falcons. I just think their offense is too hard to stop. I really do. I think even a good defense has a hard time containing the Falcons. I just don't. And while the Panthers are playing better and getting healthier, I don't think they're still all the way back yet. So I like the Falcons in this game. 4:05 p.m. Eastern game on CBS from Oakland Coliseum in Oakland, California. 7-7 Colts, 4-3 on the road. 11-3 Raiders, 5-2 at home. This is the Colts season. They have to win out, and this to have this game here is a bad draw because Oakland wants to win and pretty much lock things up for themselves here. I feel bad for the Colts because they put in their best effort of the season last week. Now, if they can put up a comparable effort, they might have a chance in this game. Unfortunately, you're playing a better team this week. A team that has found an offense this year with Derek Carr at the quarterback position, can run the ball effectively, and has a really good defense. This is a better team. And this is a team that I think could give the Colts, even if they play even close to what they did last week, problems. I like the Raiders here. I think, I just think it comes down to, last week they played a really good game. And I don't doubt that they can match that. But even if they do, you're still playing a better team that I think could find ways to get at you here. You could do what you did last week, but I don't think you'll be able to hold the team you're facing down like you did last week. The Raiders are going to find more ways to score than the Vikings did. And that's really the key for me, is that they will find more ways to score, and they will score. Unlike the Vikings. So because of that, I like the Raiders over the Colts. 4:25 p.m. Eastern game on Fox from the Mercedes-Benz Superdome in New Orleans, Louisiana. 8-6 Buccaneers, 5-2 on the road. The 6-8 Saints, 3-4 at home. Technically, the Saints, I guess, are mathematically alive, barely. Tampa. Look, we said this a couple weeks ago when they played the Saints. You're beating some good teams. You almost beat the Cowboys last week. Don't lose this now. Make it count. Don't let this whole season be for naught. Don't let this be like, oh, we took a step forward. Don't do that. You have an opportunity here, and by rights, this is a team that you should beat at this point. Even though theoretically the Saints probably have more talent, you should beat them at this point. And Tampa in the past has relished doing very well in their division and beating teams maybe they shouldn't beat within their division that might be better than them. You need to win this game for Tampa, and I think they will. I really think they will. I've liked the way their defense has played. They find ways to score even when it's not really easy for them to score. They just find ways to do it. And if they can be just as resourceful as they've been, and their defense can perform as it has, even in New Orleans, I think they can get the job done. And I think they will. I've been really impressed with their mental strength over this past month. So I'm going to go with Tampa in this game. I really like the way they played against Dallas. I'm going to go with Tampa in this game. It'll be a close one, but I like Tampa. 4:25 p.m. Eastern on Fox from CenturyLink Field in Seattle, Washington. 5-8-1 Cardinals, 1-5 on the road. 9-4-1 Seahawks, 7-0 at home. The season's done for Arizona. I mean, look, will they relish playing spoiler? Yeah, but I don't think it's going to matter. This game's in Seattle. Seattle's dominant here. While I expect Arizona to give them a heck of a game, and they're not going to lie down by any stretch, I think Seattle wins this game pretty convincingly in Seattle. So Seattle for me in this game. This game really doesn't really matter, but I'll mention anyway. 4:25 p.m. Eastern on Fox from Los Angeles, California, Memorial Coliseum. 49ers, San Francisco 49ers, 1-13, 0-7 on the road at the 4-10 Rams, 1-5 at home. I'll go with LA here. They're the home team. I think they have a little bit more in the way of talent. I think they can have more opportunities to score the ball than the 49ers do. Defensively, I think it's a crapshoot. But I'll go with the Rams. Saturday night football, pardon me. For Saturday night football, 8:25 p.m. Eastern on the NFL Network, NRG Stadium, Houston, Texas. The 5-8-1 Bengals, 2-5 on the road, 8-6 Texans, 6-1 at home. Bengals trying to play spoiler. You know they'll give you a close game. You know they'll play well. Really, this game comes down to this: how will Tom Savage react this week? How will he play? The Bengals have a good enough defense; they can give you problems. He's going to be scouted this week. People are going to know what they're going to get with Tom Savage this week. How does he respond to that? How does he respond to the adjustments made and what he's going to face? If he responds as well as did last week, I think the Texans win this game, especially since they're at home and they play very well at home. If he doesn't respond well, I think the Bengals could spoil this. Even though I've had very little faith in the Bengals this year and how mentally they haven't looked as focused, and you could tell that the last few years have really worn out on them as far as how they performed in the playoffs, and it's really worn them down. But I still think they can do. I mean, I still think they can get the job done and win football games. And in this case, there's no pressure. I think they can get it done. If Tom Savage doesn't play well, I think the Bengals can win this game. I think he'll play well enough, and I think the Texans will win. But the key really is Tom Savage. We'll see how he does. But I'll pick the Texans to win a very close affair on Saturday Night Football. You do have two games on Sunday. I was wrong, or I said only one. There are two on Sunday. There's a 4:30 p.m. Eastern game and an 8:30 p.m. Eastern game. Both are really, really big games. Division rivalry games that will pretty much settle really a lot of the AFC here. First Sunday game, 4:30 p.m. Eastern on the NFL Network. From Heinz Field in Pittsburgh, PA, you have the 8-6 Ravens, 2-4 on the road. The 9-5 Steelers, 4-2 at home. Ravens need to win to keep their division hopes alive. With a win, the Steelers will clinch the AFC North. And I think the Steelers will win. I think the Steelers are better. They're starting to play at their best. Their running game with Bell has gotten going. Their defense has gotten going. They're playing much more consistently now. They're the better team. I like the Steelers here. The Ravens, while they have improved, particularly offensively, and the offense has gotten better as the season went, it's still kind of sometimes a struggle for them, and that to me is the key. It's still a struggle for them offensively at times. It's not easy for them. They're not as fluid. They don't move the ball as well, and that's the key. So I'm going with the Steelers here over the Ravens in the first of two games on Christmas Day. Second game, 8:30 p.m. Eastern on NBC from Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City, Missouri. 8-6 Broncos, 4-3 on the road at the 10-4 Chiefs, 5-2 at home. This is the Broncos season. If they lose this game, I think they're officially done. I know mathematically you're going to look at them and go, they still have a chance, but I think they'll be officially done. For the Chiefs, this is their last chance at probably the division. They lose this game and Oakland wins. That's it. So, and Oakland's already out in front. So, this is a game of redemption for both these teams. Broncos for the last month, Chiefs for last week. I expect a great defensive, close game. These two teams always play close games. It's going to be a defensive battle. Really what it comes down to is which team's offense can make the plays. Which team's offense can make the plays when they need to. Exploit the opportunities. There will be opportunities downfield. There will be a lot of pressure on quarterbacks, particularly in case of Denver on Alex Smith. And look, can Denver get the ball in the end zone? You're playing a good defense right now. You're playing a good defense in the Chiefs. That's going to make it even harder. And they haven't been able to do it even against teams that are bad defenses in recent weeks, or lesser defenses in recent weeks. So, really, two keys here. For Denver, can you get the ball in the end zone? And exploit offensive opportunities that are presented to you. And for the Chiefs, Can you make the most? Can you get the ball? Can you release the ball, move the ball, release the ball quick, not let the pressure of the Denver defense get to you, and make the most of your opportunities? That's really what this game's about: making the most of opportunities, moving the ball, and more so in Denver's case, getting the ball in the end zone, which they have not done. I don't like the way Denver's played. I don't think you can solve this red zone problem overnight. I don't think you can get the ball all of a sudden in the end zone when you haven't done it in over a month. I like Kansas City here. I think they feel let down after last week. I think they have the more potential to get the ball downfield and make the most of their opportunities. They're able to move the ball well. They have more of a running game. I'm going with Kansas City here over Denver in what should be a very good, gritty kind of game on Sunday night. And Monday, another big game, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, ESPN from AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. Monday Night Football finally gets a decent game. The 9-5 Lions, 3-4 on the road at the 12-2 Cowboys, 6-1 at home. For Detroit, this is the opportunity here to win this game. Okay, you win this game, get a little bit of the pressure off you, especially if Green Bay. And Green Bay loses, you clinch the division. Put some pressure on Green Bay. Put some pressure on well, you won't put pressure on Green Bay at Green Bay games before this one, but if Green Bay wins that game, it puts a lot of pressure on Detroit in this game. But if you're Detroit, you're controlling your destiny here. You win this game, you probably will be okay for a playoff spot, probably. Even if you don't win the division. So it's an important game for them, and this is going to be a tough game for them. We all know how the Cowboys have played. Defensively, they've been strong. Offensively, between Ezekiel Elliott and Dak Prescott, they've been very, very good. Prescott's had some bumps along the way, but he's gotten the job done. For Dallas, this is all about clinching everything that they want to clinch. With a win here, they pretty much lock everything up. So this game for them is about just formality. For the Lions, it's about it's about trying to solidify their playoff spot and hopefully maybe even the division. So it's a lot of stakes here, probably more so for the Lions. I like the way the Lions defense has played this year. I like the way Stafford has played. But like I said, in recent weeks, they had gotten away with a lot, and it finally bit them last week against the Giants and they lost that game. The Cowboys are better than the Giants. The fact that the Giants beat them twice doesn't seem to back that up, but it's the truth. They are better than the Giants. And because of that, I have to go with the Cowboys here because I think the Cowboys, they know what this game represents. This is a chance to lock everything up, make a statement. And as good as the Detroit defense has played at times this year, I don't know if they can stop Ezekiel Elliott. And even in the process of stopping Ezekiel Elliott, that's going to open things downfield. So I think the defense is going to have a tough time matching up. I like the Dallas Cowboys in this game. All right, so that is your Christmas weekend NFL games for Week 16. So a lot of good games, some huge games, and we're going to know a lot about what we're looking at for the playoff. I mean, those final two spots for the playoffs, because really, realistically, there's only one spot available in the NFC and one spot available in the AFC. Realistically, I mean, well, in the NFC, you might have two because you might see what happens with NFC North. But realistically, there's like only 2 or 3 spots left. We might know a lot about that and what we're looking at as far as what could happen after Sunday. Actually, we will know what we're looking at after Sunday. If both if the Lions lose and the Packers win, we'll be looking at one game to decide the NFC North, and in many ways, it might be deciding a playoff spot. If Tampa wins and the Packers lose, Tampa might be in the play. I mean, there might be we'll decide a lot on Sunday. A lot will be decided on Sunday. A lot of the specifics will be decided. A lot of the seeding will be decided, and we'll see what we're looking at going into the last week of the season. It should be a very interesting slew of games this weekend in the NFL. Now, the college football we go, and as we continue our trek through the college football bowl season, as I try to pull up the results here, as you all know, we made some picks last week, and what we're going to do throughout, obviously throughout bowl season is, like I said, we'll pick a few games at a time. Well, after we pick the games, that took place between Saturday and today. Tonight we'll pick games. Today we'll pick games that take place between today and next Friday, and that's how we're going to do it. And then we'll talk about games along the way that need to be talked about and all that kind of stuff. Now, look, bowl games are hard to talk about because most people don't even don't know a lot of these teams, don't know a lot of these players. So we're not going to, as we go along, we'll talk about these games more, as get more to more of the known teams that people have a little bit of knowledge about. But I do want to mention the games that have taken place and how they ended up. December 17th, the Air Force Reserve Celebration Bowl. Ugly, ugly, ugly game. Grambling wins 10-9. I think I picked North Carolina Central, so that's one off in my favor. The New Mexico Bowl. New Mexico won that one 23-20. Great game. Actually, I watched this game. I thought it was a good game, good back and forth, solid football game. Las Vegas Bowl. I think I picked New Mexico in that game, so I got one. So I'm 1-1. That's pretty good. Las Vegas Bowl. I wasn't going to keep track, but I figured I may as well. Las Vegas Bowl. I'll keep track as we go along, I should say. Las Vegas Bowl. San Diego State 34, Houston 10. I'm kind of shocked by that. Thought Houston was the better team, but San Diego State dominant. Just simply dominant. So that wasn't a good one for me. Raycon Media Camellia Bowl, Appalachian State 31, Toledo 28. You like offense, you like that game. Very close offensive game. I had Toledo, so I got that one wrong as well. AutoNation Cure Bowl, Arkansas State 31, Central Florida 13. Great dominant performance by Arkansas State. And another one I got wrong. I picked Central Florida in that game. New Orleans Bowl, Southern Mississippi 28, Louisiana Lafayette 21. I picked Southern Miss. At least I got that one right finally. And that was another good, pretty solid game. A lot of these games were really solid. A lot of good offense. And this next game wasn't, though. Miami Beach Bowl on December 19th, Tulsa 55, Central Michigan 10. An horrible route kind of game. A game you turn off in the first quarter. I want to say I had Central Michigan, so I was way off on that one. Boca Raton Bowl, Western Kentucky 51, Memphis 31. Again, not much of a game there. And then you have tonight, which hasn't happened yet, but I think we picked it, but I'll pick it again. Tonight you have the San Diego County Credit Union Poinsettia Bowl, BYU versus Wyoming, 9 p.m. Eastern from Qualcomm Stadium, San Diego. And I believe I picked. Did I pick BYU? I think I picked BYU when we made these picks on Saturday. So I'll just say I'll pick BYU again. I just think they're the better team. I haven't seen Wyoming play. I've seen BYU play, so I'll pick BYU. I can't pick a team I haven't seen play. That game's tonight, obviously. So, as I said about the games that we have scores for and that I mentioned, again, a lot of well-played games and surprisingly a lot of good offense. Usually you don't see that with these bowl games because teams have been off for so long. But we get some of these. I guess in some of these early games, you've been off less than some of these teams that are going to be playing over the next week or two. So maybe that helps a little bit. But and then some awful games, some routes, which you never like to see in these games. So you try to, they try to make the best matchups. That's all you can do. All you can do is try. All right. So again, San Diego County Credit Union Poinsettia Bowl tonight. BYU versus Wyoming. I am picking BYU in that game. So let's make some more picks here. Now that we kind of recap what's happened. Again, as we go along, as we get into more of the bigger bowl games, we will discuss these more. I'll actually discuss the games. I won't just go over them and tell you who won and all that stuff. It's just that with some of these teams, I know a lot of you might not be familiar with a lot of these teams, so it doesn't do any good for me to go on and on about them. All right. Tomorrow, December 22nd, the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. Idaho versus Colorado State, 7 p.m. ESPN, Albertson Stadium in Boise, Idaho. I have not seen Idaho play. I've seen Colorado State play. I like their offense. I'm not crazy about their defense, but again, I can't in good conscience pick a team I haven't seen. I feel good enough about Colorado State to pick Colorado State, so I'll pick Colorado State in that game. On December the 23rd, you have the Popeyes Bahamas Bowl at 1 p.m. on ESPN from Thomas A. Robinson National Stadium in Nassau, Bahamas. Eastern Michigan versus Old Dominion. This, to me, is one of the under-the-radar kind of bowl games. Both these teams have been under the radar, and they're very fun to watch. They're both really fun teams to watch. They have electric playmakers on both sides of the ball. I think this is a very even matchup, too. Very even matchup. When it's an even matchup, I like to look at schedules. I like to look at who I felt was more challenged. And I feel like Old Dominion was more challenged, so I'm going to pick Old Dominion because that sometimes, being challenged more in your schedule oftentimes is better. So, um, I'll go with Old Dominion. I'll go with Old Dominion. Um, Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl, also on December the 23rd. Louisiana Tech versus number 25 Navy, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, ESPN from Amon G. Carter Stadium in Fort Worth, Texas. I like Navy. I've seen Navy play a couple times. They're a very strong team. I'm not a big fan of Louisiana Tech. I worry about them defensively often against Navy. I'm going with Navy in that game. Dollar General Bowl, Ohio versus Troy, 8 p.m. East ESPN, Ladd Peebles Stadium in Mobile, Alabama. This one also on December the 23rd. I like Ohio. I like Ohio. I haven't seen Troy play, but I feel like Ohio's had look, Ohio plays, I think, a little bit of a better schedule. I've seen Ohio play maybe. I think I saw Ohio play a half of football. That was way back in September, so I can't remember what I liked about them. But in this game, I think I like them. Again, you can't in college football is hard. It's not like college basketball. You can't watch a lot of these teams play. There's just too many games going on, and it's just too hard the way everything plays out. But I'll pick Ohio in this game. I mean, I sound incompetent, totally unprofessional, just going, oh, I guess I'll just take this team. But again, you can't. It's too hard to watch every single college football game, every single college football team. Christmas Eve, the Hawaii Bowl, one of my favorite bowl games actually. Hawaii versus Middle Tennessee, 8 p.m. Eastern, Aloha Stadium in Honolulu. Interesting game. I expect good offense. I expect a lot of deep plays, a lot of passing, a lot of throwing down the field. I like Middle Tennessee because I think Middle Tennessee has the better opportunity to get stops than Hawaii does as far as defense goes. So I'll take Middle Tennessee in that game. We go to Monday now because there's no bowl games on Christmas Day. December the 26th, St. Petersburg Bowl, Miami of Ohio versus Mississippi State, 11 a.m. ESPN, Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg, PA. I like Mississippi State. They better schedule, been challenged, come from the best, what many people feel is the best conference. They're gritty. They can play good, solid defense. I think they'll play. I think the defense will be key here. I like Mississippi State. Quick Lane Bowl, Maryland versus Boston College, 2:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN from Ford Field in Detroit. I like Maryland. I've liked Maryland all year. Their talent is very. I think they got top talent. I think they have more talent than Boston College. I've seen both these teams play at least twice. So I feel good about both these teams. Maryland has better playmakers. They have more talent. To me, that's always key in these games. These essentially they're like one game playoffs. So I pick Maryland here. Camping World Independence Bowl, NC State versus Vanderbilt, 5 p.m. ESPN2, Independence Stadium, Shreveport, Louisiana. NC State all the way. I think this one will be close. NC State, you see what they put against Clemson and before. I mean, NC State had an underrated season this year. They've played very, very well. I think this is a total mismatch. I like NC State in this game without a doubt. December 27th, Zaxby's Heart of Dallas Bowl. Army versus North Texas, 12 p.m. ESPN, Cotton Bowl, Dallas. Tough game to call. I've seen Army. I have not seen North Texas. You all know my philosophy. If I haven't seen a team play, I can't feel comfortable picking them. I'll go with Army just because I've seen them play, and nothing about Army worries me as far as seeing them play against a team like North Texas. So I'll take Army. Military Bowl presented by Northrop Grumman. Number 24 Temple versus Wake Forest, 3:30 p.m. Eastern from the Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium in Annapolis, Maryland. Both teams I've seen play. I think Temple's been vastly underrated all year. Defensively, they're very, very strong. Wake Forest can move the football. Really a clash of styles, if you will. It's their defense versus Wake Forest offense, in my mind. Can Wake Forest score on the defensive Temple? That's really what it comes down to. I feel a little bit more comfortable with Temple than I do with Wake Forest. So I'll go with Temple here based on simply their defense, but should be an interesting game. National Funding Holiday Bowl, Minnesota versus Washington State, 7 p.m. on ESPN, Qualcomm Stadium, San Diego. I have not been a fan of Washington State this year. I look at what they've done. I can appreciate. I've not been a fan of Washington State this year. Minnesota, I've not been high on either, but I tend to veer more towards them on this one. Only because I favor their defense more. I think offensively it's a crapshoot. Defensively, I favor Minnesota. So if I favor any one side, if I favor anything from any one side, I should go with that team. So I'll go with Minnesota here. Motel 6 Cactus Bowl, Boise State versus Baylor, 10:15 p.m. Eastern, Chase Field, Phoenix. Probably one of the best bowl games you're going to see. A very wide open game. Going to be a lot of offense. Might be that kind of game. It might be one of those games where it's whoever has the ball last and scores last. It's a tough game for me because obviously you're going to look at the schedules and say that Baylor got challenged more than Boise State. But Boise State has proven that doesn't really matter in these games. So I'm going to take Baylor only because I think they might be a smidge better than Boise State. A smidge better. And I'm going more off a gut instinct than I may think because these two teams are evenly matched. I think it's going to be a lot of offense. I think it's going to be a fun game. But I'm going to go with Baylor because I just think they're a little bit better than Boise State. New Era Pinstripe Bowl, number 23 Pittsburgh versus Northwestern, 2 p.m. Eastern, Yankee Stadium, Bronx, New York. I'm going with Pittsburgh here. I don't think Northwestern's bad, but I think Pittsburgh defensively is much better. It's key. They'll be able to shut down Northwestern without a doubt. So I'm going with Pittsburgh. Russell Athletic Bowl, number 16 West Virginia versus Miami, 5:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Eastern at ESPN, Camping World Stadium in Orlando, Florida. I like West Virginia. I've liked West Virginia all year. Their offense has been much improved this year, kind of gotten back on track. They can move the ball effectively. Nothing Miami does really gives me pause to think that they'd give West Virginia a problem. I like West Virginia. Foster Farms Bowl, Indiana versus number 19 Utah, 8:30 p.m. Eastern on Fox from Levi Stadium in Santa Clara, California. I actually like Indiana here. Indiana's a team that a couple of times this year, a lot of people picked as an upset team against teams like Ohio State, Michigan, not Michigan, Wisconsin. They've looked good in a lot of big games. And Utah is not going to overwhelm you. They're kind of that team. They remind me, and I hate to make an NFL comparison, but I will. They remind me a lot of what the Atlanta Falcons were until this year, before they started throwing the ball at huge rates. Very cautious, very deliberate, play it close to the vest. That's what Utah is. And against a team like Indiana, who has a little bit more in the way of explosiveness, I think that's a problem. So I'm going to go Indiana here. AdvoCare V100 Texas Bowl, Texas A&M versus Kansas State, 9 p.m. on ESPN Energy Stadium in Houston. I like A&M here. I think they're the better team. They had some down games this year, but at the same time, I think they're better than Kansas State. I think they have more playmakers on offense than Kansas State. A&M, I'm taking in this game. December 29th, the Birmingham Bowl, South Florida versus South Carolina, 2 p.m. Eastern on ESPN from Legion Field in Birmingham, Alabama. Interesting game. I expect it to become a grinded out possession kind of game. And whenever that kind of thing happens, you have to favor South Carolina because they like it that way. So I'm going to go with South Carolina in that game. Belk Bowl, Arkansas versus number 22 Virginia Tech, 5:30 p.m. on ESPN Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, North Carolina. Virginia Tech to me is vastly overrated. I've seen some of the teams they've lost to. Realistically, they shouldn't have lost those teams. But what they do is they give too much on defense. They give you a little too much downfield. They can't seem to control. They can't seem to stop both the running game and the passing game consistently. They can either stop one or the other. Arkansas can be explosive at times. To me, there's a little bit of a mismatch here, and I don't think Virginia Tech's defense can stop Arkansas. So I'm going with Arkansas in this game. Last game we're going to pick, Valero. Well, no, it ain't the last game we're going to pick. One of the last games we're going to pick. Valero Alamo Bowl. Number 12, Oklahoma State versus number 10, Colorado. 9 p.m. ESPN, Alamo Dome in San Antonio. Good game. I like Colorado. Colorado was a sweeper all season long. A lot of teams were starting to buy into them late, thought they could sneak into the playoffs. A lot of people didn't even see them play this year. Didn't get a chance to see them play this year, but they're very good. Particularly on defense, they're very, very solid. They're going to give Oklahoma State problems. If they can contain, if they can contain Oklahoma State, for me the key is this: if you can take Oklahoma State and keep them under 20 points, this game's over. Colorado wins. If you don't, then it's going to be a little bit more of a back and forth kind of game, and it could easily tilt in favor of Oklahoma State. I like Colorado either way. I think Colorado can get out even if the score gets in the high 20s, but it's easier for Colorado if it's lower than that. But anyway, I'm going with Colorado in this game. Even though we will have a football blitz show on December 30th, there are a few games that will be on either before our show or during our show, so we want to make sure that we cover those games. So we will pick those. What we will do is we will pick all the games up to 3:30 on, and then we'll leave the rest of the games. Actually, no, we'll pick all but the Orange Bowl. We will not pick the Orange Bowl. We'll leave the Orange Bowl off. We'll leave that for next week. So, all right, December 30th, AutoZone Liberty Bowl, Georgia versus TCU, 12 p.m. Eastern, ESPN, Liberty Bowl, Memorial Stadium in Memphis, Tennessee. Sorry. I have to go with Georgia here. Better defensively. Not great offensively, even though TCU is probably better than them offensively, but at the same time, they can run the football effectively in defense. Offense is the better thing to be better anyway, so I'm going with Georgia in this game. Hyundai Sun Bowl, number 18, Stanford versus North Carolina, 2 p.m. CBS Sun Bowl, El Paso, Texas. I'm going with North Carolina. Granted, they don't look as good as they did last year late in the season, but I haven't been high on Stanford. I think Stanford's gotten by with Stanford's gotten away with a lot of mistakes. Defensively, I think at times they're nowhere near as good as they need to be. North Carolina can really put up points on you if you let them, and Stanford's defense, like I said, has not been up to stuff. I'm going with North Carolina in this game. Franklin American Mortgage Music City Bowl, Nebraska versus number 21 Tennessee, 3:30 p.m. Eastern, ESPN from Nissan Stadium in Nashville, Texas. I'm going with Tennessee, and actually I'm going with Nebraska in this game. Sorry. Better defense. I think they have Tennessee's offense isn't overwhelming enough as it is. So I'm going to go with Nebraska here. Nova Home Loans Arizona Bowl, South Alabama versus Air Force, 5:30 p.m. Eastern, Campus Insiders. Arizona Stadium, Tucson, Arizona. I like Air Force here. I have not seen South Alabama play, so that's key here. I've seen Air Force. They're not bad. They don't look bad. I'll go with Air Force there. I was going to hold off on the Orange Bowl, but we'll make a pick on it because I don't want to just leave one game hanging out there. We might as well just finish it off. So Capital One Orange Bowl, number 6 Michigan versus number 11 Florida State, 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN from Hard Rock Stadium, Miami Gardens, Florida. This might be one of the games of the pre-playoff, of pre-New Year's Eve, pre-New Year's Day bowls. This might be one of the games of one of the best games outside of the playoff games, I should say, or outside of the big holiday games like New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, if not the best game. I haven't said that. Michigan's far and away the better team. They have one of the best defenses. I don't feel comfortable enough in picking Florida State here only because of the fact that I don't know if they're going to be able to move the ball very well off a very good Michigan defense. So I'm going to pick Michigan in this game. So that takes us right up to December 30th. So when we have our next football blitz show next week, we'll pick the New Year's Eve games. We'll pick there are no games on New Year's Day. We'll pick the January 2nd games. And that'll be it. So we picked most of the bowl games today. So, and there are some good games on New Year's Eve. And obviously on the playoff games on the day after New Year's Day. So there are some good games, and there'll be a lot to talk about with that next week. And we'll have some games to talk about next week, too, of all these games I just picked, some of which have a lot to mine through. So we'll talk about all that next week. So we've gotten through everything. We picked the games we have to pick. We've gotten through the NFL. Really quick before we go off the air, people have asked me about this whole thing in college football with players sitting out bowl games. Now I know this is a football show. Okay. I know this is our football show, and I know this is something that we should talk about on the football show. I'm going to briefly mention it, but I'm going to be honest with y'all. We're probably going to talk about this more on our primetime show next week, because I want to get my co-host's opinion on it as well. So we'll do this. We'll talk about here like really quickly, like a minute, and then I'll go into more detail on it on our primetime show next Thursday. But here's the thing, folks. There are a lot of players. There are a lot of players that would love to have played one more game in college, especially those that might have missed out on a championship or anything like that. So to see anybody sit out, to me, is horrible. Okay, first of all, it's not professional. I mean, if you're playing college football, chances are you want to play professional football at some point. To do that already, to me, indicates that you're going to have problems down the line. Okay, that you know what I mean? You're not always going to do what's best for the team. You're out for yourself. I understand you want to stay healthy. I understand the draft. I understand all that. But there has to be something to say about pride and playing and being and playing for your team in a bowl game, because that's your championship. Like that one of the. I mean, I know it seems very hollow because there's so many bowl games and you might not see it this way if you're a player, but think about it this way: if you make a bowl game, that is kind of your championship. You're making your school money, but you also get a trophy. It is your championship. It might not be the championship that you were hoping for, but it's still a championship. Why wouldn't you want to play in that kind of game? National spotlight, why wouldn't you want to play in that kind of game? I don't know. It just doesn't sit right with me. It shouldn't sit right with anybody. It really shouldn't. We'll talk more about it again on our primetime show next Thursday. I just want to announce I don't like it. This leaves a bad taste in my, and I don't think it bodes well for your professional career either. If I'm a team and I see that, I'm like, well, geez. I mean, I know you want to stay healthy in that, but come on. That'd be like if you know you're going to be a free agent in the offseason, sitting down and not playing for your professional team. Well, I want to stay healthy so I can make some money. I mean, it's the same thing. Same thing. So again, we'll talk more about this in detail on our primetime show next Thursday. I did want to briefly acknowledge it. And I know it's our football show, and theoretically we should keep it all on here on this show. But, I think it's something that I really want to get my co-host's opinion on. So and he only does the primetime show. So we'll talk more about it on next Thursday's show. So with that being said, we are done for tonight. For today and for this week. As always, the show might be over. Does not mean you have to stop interacting and contributing to our show. Continue to have your voice heard. Send us your feedback. We really encourage you to send us your feedback. We are really trying to evaluate things and improve the show. So continue to send us your feedback, questions, or comments related to the shows, scheduling of the show, topic ideas or breaking news items for sports, entertainment, or wrestling you want us to cover, reactions, comments, or opinions on things we talked about on the show, things we mentioned, things we said. Any of these things you can do by email, Facebook, and Twitter. You can email us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. Please remember to use the hashtags, hashtag itspotlight411, or if you're talking about the football blitz, you can use hashtag itsfootballblitz. You can also find us on Facebook. Just search for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook and make sure that you like our fan page upon finding it on Facebook. We encourage you to follow us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest information about our show, especially as it relates to scheduling. Obviously, sometimes we have a lot of scheduling changes, postponements, delays, other details, and sometimes the only way we can get them to you is through social media. So make sure you follow us on Facebook and Twitter so you can have that latest information. And of course, we post random things on there as well. So if you want any and all of that, you want to make sure you follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Just search for In the Spotlight 411. If you'd like to keep up with our show, look back at classic episodes. You have a number of ways in which to do that. If you're a fan of streaming, you might prefer to see us on screen. Maybe you're only interested in more recent episodes of our show. If any of that applies to you, you might want to look us up on Google Plus and YouTube. Just search for In the Spotlight 411. And you'll have access to all of our more recent episodes, everything from mid-October 2015, all the way to today's episode. All those episodes are streaming anytime you wish on Google Plus and YouTube. Just search for In the Spotlight 411. Again, search for In the Spotlight 411. You'll have access to those episodes anytime you want to stream them. If you're more of a fan of audio podcasts, maybe prefer to listen to us instead of seeing us on screen, maybe you want to listen to us on the go. And also, maybe you're interested in older episodes of our show. If any of that applies to you, you might want to look us up on our main host sites, Podbean and iTunes, to search for In the Spotlight 411 on both those sites. And upon finding our show page, you'll have access to every episode we've done over the last 6 years been doing the show. Every episode from our time on Blog Talk Radio, TalkShoe, Google Plus, YouTube. All of our Google Plus YouTube episodes are transferred into audio format for your convenience. Every episode from October 2010 all the way to today's episode is available to you anytime you want. All episodes are in order from most recent to the oldest. So again, you can look for us on Podbean and iTunes to search for In the Spotlight 411, and you'll find those episodes. You can listen to them anytime you want. So maybe you're a longtime fan that wants to look back at classic episodes. Maybe a new fan never watched or heard those classic episodes, or maybe just looking to keep up on episodes. If any of that works for you, you can find us on Podbean and iTunes, and of course you can also stream us for more recent episodes on Google Plus and YouTube. So Google Plus, YouTube, Podbean, iTunes. Always keep up with the show and look back at classic episodes. Just make sure you search for In the Spotlight 411 on all those sites. You can search for In the Spotlight 411 on all those sites. I want to thank myself for another great show, pat myself on the back, and thank all of you for your continued support and contributions to the show. Thank you so much for watching, and to those that will be watching or listening to this later, thank you to you as well. We really do appreciate it. Thank you for your patience and understanding. I know we got off to a little bit of a late start. That's nothing new, right? But we got the show in. We got the job done. It was nice to get the show in this week after what happened last week. My apologies again for what happened last Friday with the emergency and all, and not letting you all know what was going on. Again, if you want to check out last week's Football Blitz show, we did do the makeup show on Saturday. You can check that out. It's available on Google Plus, YouTube, Podbean, and iTunes anytime you want. The date on it is December the 17th, Saturday, December 17th. So if you're interested in checking out that show, you may. Otherwise, that's okay. I understand. That is it for this week. Our next show will be a week from tomorrow, Thursday, December the 29th. That'll be our next primetime show. 9 o'clock from Houston time here on YouTube Live. We'll cover everything in sports outside of football, although we are going to do a little football with that whole thing with players sitting out bowl games. We're going to talk a little bit about that. We'll do some wrestling. We'll do some entertainment with the box office beat and such. All that on next Thursday's show. And then our next edition of the Football Blitz will be a week from Friday, December the 30th, 2:30 p.m. Eastern time here on YouTube Live. So make sure that you know all that. I hope you all have a great rest of your week, a great Christmas, and a great start to your week next week. Please be safe in all your travels and everything that you do. Have fun. Enjoy your family. This has been a rough year for all of us, I know, in some way, shape, or form. So cherish the moments you have. Enjoy them. And enjoy good company and relax and have fun. And, again, be safe. And we will see you back here for our next show. In prime time next Thursday, December the 29th, 9 o'clock from Eastern time again. And then again, the Football Blitz next Friday, December the 30th at 2:30 p.m. Eastern time. Those are our next two shows. Until next week, have a good afternoon, everybody. Merry Christmas. Talk to you next week.